This is Glenn Hughes, the voice of rock, and you're listening to Music Mania.
You ready for some screaming heavy metal? We rock!
But the evil that men do lives on.
We're gonna bang your head!
You are now listening to the Music Mania podcast, brought to you by CD Warehouse in Gladstone, the #1 hard rock podcast in the Midwest, featuring hard-hitting interviews with rock's living legends. And now, here's your host, Clint Schweitzer.
You are locked and loaded right here on the Music Mania podcast, and we are off and running into the spring and warm weather months, my favorite time of year, and I know it is for you guys as well, because that means outdoor events, live music, hanging out with your friends, cold beverages, and just a lot more fun, a lot more things that you can do, especially here in the Midwest where we lived through a miserable winter. We're out of it now. My concert calendar is filling up. That's what it's all about for me during the spring and summer months, as I am out reviewing shows, doing interviews, and we really heat up this time of year, and that is no different here in 2019. On this show, we're going to be welcoming a very special guest, George Harris, guitarist, co-founder of the band The Raven Age. Yes, it is Steve Harris from Iron Maiden, his son, and The Raven Age will be opening for Iron Maiden on their upcoming U.S. Legacy of the Beast tour. We're going to be talking to him about opening for Iron Maiden back on the Book of Souls tour in 2016. Their new album, Conspiracy, which is out now via their own record label, and kind of what it was like growing up being the son of a legend. Steve Harris is flat out my favorite metal bass player of all time. Iron Maiden is my favorite band. I'm going to be going to that show in Las Vegas here in September 13th. So I'm going to be checking out that show. I saw the Raven Age open for Iron Maiden back in 2016 in Tulsa on the Book of Souls tour. I was really impressed with their live show. We're going to be talking to George about how much they learned opening for Maiden, watching the metal icons perform 2 hours night after night, and kind of what Steve's learned, just kind of what George has learned from his dad, Steve, growing up around the business in kind of this metal universe. And let me tell you, the new album from the Raven Age, it is called Conspiracy, and it's really drawing inspiration from the band's interest in historical myths and conspiracies. Lyrically, the tracks tell stories of desperation and inhumanity throughout different periods of time, delving into the lives and experiences of people from years ago. Very good stuff. As George will explain, it's not exactly a concept album, but really just kind of using these themes. And this is the band's second album. Their first album came out back in 2016, Darkness Will Rise, and they were crowned Best New Band of 2017 by Planet Rock and Metal Hammer. They have been at such festivals as Bloodstock, Hellfest, Whack-In Open Air, Rock 'em Ring, and more. They've shared the stage with rock heavyweights like Anthrax, Mastodon, Ghost, of course, Iron Maiden. I can't wait to see these guys. I hope you guys are going to enjoy this interview I did with George, who was kind enough to stay up late in Great Britain time to join me via Skype to do this interview. So exciting things from the Raven Age. A lot of really exciting things coming up here on the Music Mania podcast. Got a lot coming up, big things. Got a lot of shows. Got REO Speedwagon coming up. Got Michael Schenker Fest coming up here in Kansas City. So much on the horizon. Sammy Hagar in St. Louis. That's all before even June. I got Firehouse coming up in June. Vixen, all going to be here in the Kansas City area out in Kansas. So, you know, my shows are filling up. I know yours are as well. So before we get to our interview with George Harris from the Raven Age, got to tell you about our sponsor, CD Warehouse in Gladstone, Missouri. Guys, for over 22 years, a staple of the Northland. They buy, sell, and trade CDs, DVDs, vinyl, and more. Guys, do not let the vibe of the old school record store go by the wayside. Give them a visit off Antioch Road in Gladstone today. Tell them Music Mania sent you, and there will be a discount, or it's on us. Hey, George, it's Clint Schweitzer. How you doing, man?
Hey, mate. Yeah, I'm all good, thank you. How are you?
Oh, doing wonderful. Thanks for joining us from the UK here, staying up late and doing this with us, man. How's everything been going?
No problem. Yeah, it's going really well, thank you. Yeah. All good. Just recently come off our European headline tour with the rest of the guys. Just kind of settled in back home and cracking on with what's next.
Yeah. Talk about that tour. I know you guys went out and did a lot of headlining dates. How did that tour go for you guys? What was it like getting out there, and just kind of what was some of your experiences out there on the road so far?
It was an unbelievable tour for us. I mean, a few of us said we think it's like hands down our favourite tour yet. I mean, I think obviously we've been super lucky to do some amazing stuff, but I think it's kind of a different story when you're playing to your own fans and people who know your stuff. And obviously we just dropped our album like right before the tour, and it's been received really, really well by our fans and reviews and stuff. So the growth in numbers on this tour was pretty significant to our first headliner, and that alone was really exciting. And just the amount of people that knew all the words to our album, even though it dropped like a couple of weeks before it was pretty sort of overwhelming for us. We didn't really know what to expect, and it was just the whole tour was just really, really good vibe.
I'm glad to hear that. That's awesome. This album is conspiracy, and it kind of draws inspiration from your interest in things like historical myths and conspiracies. Kind of talk about that, how that kind of became the theme for this album, and kind of talk about your interest in all that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's just like, you know what? It's never really sat down and thought, okay, I want to write a song about this, like about historical themes or anything. That's kind of just been me personally, like when I go searching for like inspiration for writing lyrical content, like these are the kind of subjects that like draw me in and I get like excited by, you know. I mean, there's like the horror historical themes like Fleur-De-Lys and obviously Scimitar and stuff, and Grave of the Fireflies. Like they're just like, they're such big sort of epic subjects that there's so much content to it to get your teeth into. So like if I'm reading up on it or whatever it might be, or watching a film about it or something, there's so much to it that it's like you never really I never find like with stuff like that, I'm never really scraping the barrel for like ideas and sort of lines or content to try and get some inspiration from. So that's kind of why I'm drawn towards that sort of thing. I mean, Conspiracy, the album, is like, it has a lot of those type of things lyrically, but it also has some like more personal stuff going on with it as well, in stuff like in tracks like Betrayal of the Mind. Sorry, I'm losing my words. So it's not actually like a concept album, or like it may seem like it, but it kind of it has a bit of both in there, which is also cool. There's a lot of stuff like that, and The Day the World Stood Still, the type of songs where people can kind of relate it to themselves a little bit more. Overall, that kind of seems to be a bit of a running theme for the band.
Well, you've been spending the last few years kind of perfecting rather your sound and your identity. Talk about what the addition of vocalist MJ and guitarist Tony Mao have kind of brought to the band.
Yeah, I mean, they've both definitely changed the sound of the band, like for sure. Especially MJ, obviously being the front man and being the style of music we play. We're like a heavy metal band, obviously, but with clean vocals. So that is like really in the forefront of our mixes and our sound, like the vocals. So it's like kind of the first thing you hear, really. So changing that was a pretty drastic thing for us to do. And finding MJ, we feel like we've really found, like, sort of landing on our feet, finding him, really. Even though we spent a long time searching and we were kind of like really, stressed out for a while, pulling our hair out. And then it turns out we ended up going with a guy we already knew, which is ironic. But he brings a lot to the table. He's got an amazing vocal range, which is one of the things which actually changed it quite drastically for us. Because when it comes to songwriting, we found that his range enabled us to actually sort of break down a few barriers we had before in terms of melody writing. So for me, it kind of opened up a few more doors. As soon as he joined, we ran through some stuff which we already had. I realised that he just had that extra headspace to sort of go even higher in certain parts. Like I was kind of sort of dampening down to fit within a certain bracket, which he could do both. So that definitely has helped. And same with Tony. Tony's brought a lot of stuff to the table in terms of writing as well. He's a great songwriter, and he's also a great singer, which really helps on the live perspective. His backing vocals are brilliant. But having an extra 2 songwriters on board has definitely changed the dynamic of the album, and I think it's just made it all for the better.
Well, George, talk about this because here in July, you guys will be back out on the road, of course, opening for Iron Maiden on their Legacy of the Beast U.S. tour. This is going to be huge. Of course, you guys opened for Iron Maiden back on the Book of Souls tour in the America as well. Talk about kind of what you learned opening for Iron Maiden on that tour. Now going into this one, how big it's going to be for you guys to be back out in some really big venues and another chance to get some real good visibility for the band.
Yeah, I mean, it's an absolutely unbelievable opportunity. We can't deny that. It's just going to be, we're super, super excited for it. I mean, I guess like doing that run the first time round, it taught us it definitely taught us a stagecraft. Like the stages are just huge. You know, they're a lot bigger than what we used to playing on before. So we need to learn how to project yourself and the songs, to feel that stage. Otherwise, we look like a tiny little band playing on a huge stage, and it kind of doesn't really work. So, that really, really helped us with that side of it. I think, particularly doing a US tour with Maiden is actually kind of perfect for us because we actually seem to get a lot of followers and listeners from the US. If you were to look into our Spotify stats or something like that, I think it's a third of our listeners come from the US. So we're really excited to get back out there and try and connect with all those fans who like us, and obviously play in front of everyone else, and try and grab all the guys from over in the States and Canada and also South America. So it's going to be unreal.
Well, for those that don't know, they of course should, but your dad, of course, is Steve Harris, the legendary Steve Harris, one of the great metal bassists of all time, and just kind of talk about your indoctrination into the music business. Obviously, you grew up a lot different than most people with Steve and Iron Maiden just on top of the metal, mountaintop. But what are some things as you came up, knowing that your dad was a part of this band? Are there some things that kind of he steered you toward or taught you that have kind of helped lead you to the path that you're in right now?
I mean, not in terms of pushing me towards music. Those never ever tried to sort of force me to get into music or to play an instrument or anything like that. I mean, obviously he's constantly playing it, on the school run, I'll be listening to all sorts of stuff, and I feel like subconsciously he's kind of just sunk in over the years, and I've kind of ended up being super into my music, but that's just kind of happened naturally. And same with picking up the guitar and writing, that's just kind of happened naturally, really. I don't think he was really expecting me to do that. But one thing I guess that obviously helps is the fact that he's kind of been in my shoes where I am at the moment. He's been there and done it all, and obviously been successful. So he knows what he's talking about. Even though the music industry has completely changed from when he was my age, there's a lot of the main principles which remain the same. Some of the advice he's given me, which has really sort of helped, is just advising sort of hard work and stuff like that. And also just some of the best advice I think he's given me is probably just stay true to yourself in terms of your ideas. It's your band. He's always said to me, no one knows your band better than you do. So basically, as you grow as a band, I think there's more and more people get involved. There's more and more opinions, and there's more and more things that can change that from the original idea. And if you can sort of hang on to that as best you can, then that's definitely the way forward. And I feel I guess he's obviously done that himself, so it's a great piece of advice.
Well, you guys have played, on some really big bills, some really big festivals, like Wacken, Bloodstock, things like that, alongside some just heavyweights like Killswitch Engage, Mastodon, Anthrax, Ghost, many more. But is there, even though you're partisan, you have a bias, you grew up around Iron Maiden to at this point in 2019 to still see those kind of performances. Of course, Bruce Dickinson had cancer and battled back. To see that kind of live performance, does that still resonate with you? Does it kind of leave you in awe, especially when you see them every single night when you're opening for them? Yeah, definitely. I mean, we obviously we always try
and get out and watch the show, because this is, it's such an amazing show. Like, obviously song wise and visually, we watch it as many times as we can. And I mean, having more than ever now, having just got off the back of a headline album, we played for about an hour and 25 minutes, and that's the longest we've ever done. And doing that every night, like, I realise, it's pretty tough work when you're throwing yourself around a stage and, like, you're full of energy, and you've got to keep that up for an hour and 25 minutes for us. Like, I then think, those guys are doing it for 2 hours every night, and still giving off all of that energy at their age and stuff. And I just kind of, I think that's pretty incredible.
Absolutely, and we, can't wait to see you guys here, back in America. That's just going to be an amazing experience. Of course, I mean, you guys in 2017, when you released your debut album, you had some, a lot of praise kind of coming your way. You played some really big shows. Just kind of talk about that journey, what the last 2 years have meant to you, to go from where you were in 2017 to get to this album, to Conspiracy, to the biggest run of headlining dates you've ever done, and now back to opening for Iron Maiden. Just talk about this 2-year journey and kind of what it's been like getting back to this point.
Yeah, it's been like super up and down for us. I mean, we did that tour in 2016, and obviously that was a huge high. And then all of a sudden we got picked up by BMG Germany, which was just, unbelievable. As a band, starting out as a band, all you've sort of dreamed to do is release your first album, and we managed to do that, signed to a great big record label. So that was massive kind of dream come true. It was all high moments, and then, touring and everything, and obviously the first album was like a collection of all the songs we'd written, up till that point. So, and all of a sudden there was like, okay, pressure's on, we need to follow that up with something even better. So kind of like, got to admit, I did feel that pressure a little bit, because we did a lot of touring. There wasn't loads of time off in between to get myself like sort of settled and sit home and write like I did before. And then we went through the whole thing with our singer change, and I kept thinking to myself, well, I need to I need to crack on and start writing the next album. I was like, but we don't have a singer. Like, there's no point. Like, what is the point in writing music? Like, if we're not going to be able to play it, because we had all this stuff coming up that was like, I had like a tour offer coming up like relatively soon. We had to give the guys a green light, see if we can go and support Savage Messiah. And I was like, oh man, like, what is going on? So I was kind of all over the place. Like, it was a bit of very much an up and down journey. And then Matt joined, and then like, it was just like, I feel totally sort of elated. Like, the band was up and running again. We started gelling. Like, the songs were flying together. It was like one of the most exciting moments. It felt like we did when we started the band. Like, again, I felt like we kind of reborn almost. It just fit in really well. Like, we released a single. It went, like, our fans like took on MJ like absolutely no problem. They really, really were digging him. And since then, it's kind of just been like sort of gradually sort of going upwards. Like, we were obviously sitting on Conspiracy for a little while, and we were pretty excited to release that, just dripping some singles here and there and videos. But it wasn't until we actually released it till I feel like it's really kind of picked up, and we're kind of in a really good spot at the moment.
Well, guys, the website, of course, is theravenage.com. You can get all the details on the new album Conspiracy, which is amazing, and I'm such a huge fan of it. Just talk about kind of the ways people can get it. You can get it, obviously, I think you mentioned Spotify, pretty much available in all the digital formats. And was there a physical release as well?
Yeah, as you said, it's available on all digitals. But this time it's only available on our website. Reason being, we started our own record label and are releasing it via that this time round. I don't know. It unfortunately for us, because like the era we're in, where no one's really. Physicals are getting sort of less and less and less.
Sure.
It actually ended up being cost worthy, like for us to sort of distribute it to a lot of websites. So we distribute it. It is you can get it worldwide from our website, but it's not places like Amazon and that where it was before. But yeah, we have like CDs and vinyls and all sorts on our website, which we can ship everywhere.
All right, the website is theravenage.com. Definitely go check out this album. Support this band, The Raven Age. It is awesome. George, can't thank you enough for joining us from the UK tonight, and we're going to see you, man, in Las Vegas. That is going to be on September the 13th. We're going to be seeing you guys with Iron Maiden the 13th in Vegas. Can't wait to check you guys out again. I saw you guys in Tulsa the last time back in 2016, so it's going to be great to see you again. George, can't thank you enough, man. Best of luck.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks, Clint. Cheers, man.
You bet. Thanks. Big thanks to George Harris for joining us, talking about the Raven Age, talking about the upcoming tour with Iron Maiden, the Legacy of the Beast 2019 U.S. tour. It kicks off July 18th in Sunrise, Florida. I will be checking out that show September the 13th in Las Vegas at the MGM Grand. Can't wait to catch up with the Raven Age and, of course, Iron Maiden, my favorite band of all time. I make no bones about it. I have an Iron Maiden tattoo on my left arm. I think this is going to be my 7th Maiden show of all time, and it's funny because of all these times I've seen Iron Maiden, I've only seen them in Kansas City, my hometown, one time. That was back in 2013 on the Maiden England tour. I've seen Iron Maiden in Chicago. I've seen them in Tulsa. I have seen them in Seattle, Washington, and now Las Vegas coming up. So excited for that. And can't thank George Harris enough for joining us. Of course, you heard a little bit of the brand new single from the Raven Age. That title is Fleur-De-Lys. That definitely has kind of a French connotation to it, and I hope I pronounced that right. You can check that out. Get the album at theravenage.com. Hope you will go and do that. Support this band. Very aggressive and brooding metal sound. George Harris plays guitar, doesn't play bass as his famous dad did, so he kind of went his own way with that. You heard him talk about how his dad, did not steer him necessarily towards music, but it kind of came naturally. And I know his sister, Lauren Harris, has been in the music industry as well as a singer. So great stuff from them. Guys, so much coming up. We have a lot of interviews in the can, a lot of them coming up. There's going to be so many shows and reviews. Make sure you go to our website, musicmaniapodcast.com. You can get all of our reviews and get all of our shows. They're all archived there. And I hope you're subscribing on Apple Podcasts, on Google Play Music, and Spotify. Those are the 3 major podcast providers that this show is on. Be sure to subscribe, give us some feedback. We always appreciate it. Guys, thanks so much for joining us. Hope you're able to get outside, enjoy some cold beverages, get the barbecue going. The live music is about to hit us. So keep locked and loaded right here on the Music Mania Podcast.